welcome to NAPOD, where we provide NA speaker meetings and workshops in a podcast. We are an ad-free podcast, and if you enjoy listening, please help us to be self-supporting by visiting napod.xyz, look for the donate link, and drop $1 or $2 in the virtual basket. If you're also in AA or have friends that are, please tell them about our other podcast, Sobercast. Sobercast features AA speakers and workshops in the same format as NAPOD. We upload a new speaker every day, and it's easy to subscribe by searching for Sobercast, that's 2 words, on any podcast player app, or go to Sobercast.com. Enjoy the podcast, and thanks for listening.
I'm Lorraine. I'm an addict.
Hi, Lorraine.
It's a privilege. It's an honor to be asked to come share at any meeting of Narcotics Anonymous. I have to start by thanking the God of my understanding for gracing an addict like me to get to a fellowship that saves lives. I can't say thank you enough to God for hearing that desperate. It wasn't even a prayer that came out of my mouth. I think it was just like in my heart, because I was really tired of the life that I was living. It really wasn't a life. It talks about how the ability to feel human was gone, and that's where I got. I'm going to tell you a little bit of where I come from. First, I want to thank Cadna and Fidel here for asking me to come and share here. It's really an honor. I felt really privileged, to be asked to come to the first convention. It's been beautiful. Thank you. Your hospitality is wonderful. It's really pretty out here. I can't express the joy, of being here in Puerto Peñasco, Mexico. I come from a family of 3. I'm the oldest. And I feel, when I tell you guys that I really feel honored, it's like you guys told me y'all didn't care who my connections were, but I come from a family that sold a lot of dope. My mom married a man that was a big drug dealer, and I grew up here in Mexico, and I grew up in the United States, and it was back and forth, and it was transporting dope all the time, and the big mansions and shit like that, and bodyguards, and it was like, it was on, you know what I'm saying? And I liked that lifestyle. I really did. I thought that's how everybody lived. And I learned how to lie at a very early age, and I thought that's just what you did. You told the truth, you were weak. So, I started using when I was, I think I was 8 years old. I started with alcohol, because that's what people did, like, at the dinner table, and everybody else, they would play cards and, stay up for hours, and I didn't know they were doing cocaine, but that's what they were doing. But I started with alcohol, and I felt like that warm sensation inside, and I felt like that's what I had been looking for. My addiction, I didn't know that I was an addict and that my addiction was going to progress, and I was going to end up like with a needle in my arm and finding ways and means to give more. Going to any lengths. We used to live and it was crazy and live to use. That's just how it was. By the time I was in and out of institutions since an early age. I started stealing and, all the stuff that we do. And I remember when I was 17, I remember clearly like telling my mom that, because when you're like locked up, because I did that a lot, I heard like an old timer there in jail say that, once an addict, always an addict. And I believe that. In my heart, I believe that. And I remember telling my mom that, once an addict, always an addict. That's just who I am, and that's the way it's going to be. And, I held a resentment against my mother for a lot of years because I would get pissed off because I would tell her, how dare you? Because she would get mad at me, and say, like, why do you do that stuff? And I would be like, how dare you ask me? That's what we fucking do. And it was like, no, we sell it. We don't use it. We're supposed to sell it, right? And so it was crazy, man. And, really the ability to feel human. I had 3 children, and all through my pregnancies I used. all through my incarcerations I used. You know, my kids, they were born addicted to methadone, and, you know, I was always thinking that there was going to be like a different way, and, you know, I was going to be able to use successfully. And that never happened. In 1999, I was like near death. You know, my Hep C was really bad, and I didn't know what was happening. And I know today it was the God of my understanding preparing me to like come to this fellowship. You know, you guys call it, I guess, you hit bottom, right? You hit bottom. And I was like in desperation. I couldn't even like walk anymore. You know, I hadn't eaten like for 2 weeks, and everything was getting really dark, and all the crimes that I committed and all the people that I hurt, it was just like coming at me. And the conscience, you know what I'm saying? It just felt really ugly. Everything that I had done was just coming at my face. And you know how it says, in who's an addict could it be the drugs? I really didn't think it was the drugs. I just thought like, you know, I gotta get off one drug. So I went to detox, and I had been introduced to Narcotics Anonymous before, you know, through the parole office. They sent me to a meeting, and I thought you guys were punks. You know what I'm saying? Because y'all were getting honest, and I would go in the parking lot and I would shoot dope and I would laugh and I would think like, this could never happen for me. You know, not until 7 years later when I told you a while ago I hit bottom and I was like in desperation that I went to detox thinking I was going to get off one drug. Some addicts that were meeting in the back of the hospital where I was at carried the message to me, and they shared this with me. They said that an addict, any addict, could stop using, lose the desire to use, and find a new way to live. And they gave me like a meeting schedule, and they told me that I never had to use again. And you know what they had was, they had like this joy, you know what I'm saying? And like the peace, you know, and I figured I wanted some of that. But I couldn't imagine not using. I had used like all my life. And they gave me those phone numbers, and they shared. I couldn't imagine. They would tell me, you know, because I was kicking, you know, and I had been on a long run, and every bone in my body ached. My daughter had to help me bathe. I couldn't even stand anymore. My skin, it was like hanging on my bones, and it was like rubbery or some shit for some reason, you know? It was like, I was near death, and the ability to feel, it was gone. I just knew that there was like a little bit of hope that you guys had given me, because y'all would share the stories. You know, y'all would share about like, you had been where I had been, and you had found a way out. And all I had to do was just be willing, you know, to do what it was that you guys did. And I never imagined that God was gonna like bring me to Puerto Peñasco to share the message. You know, they told me get a sponsor, work the steps, and or die, right? Or fucking die. You know, and that's what I did. You know, I got a sponsor, and I started to like work the steps, and thank you. I couldn't understand like surrender, because that was foreign to me, you know, and being honest, and, you know, they told me it was an inside job, you know, that it didn't matter, that y'all didn't care where I came from. It was like, what do you want to do about your problem, and how can we help you? You know, and I had a lot of problems. I really knew that you guys had something here. And, you know, it was like in that second step. You know, they told me, don't pass it over with a minimum of concern, because the rest of the steps, they're not going to work. You know, and I needed a power to restore me to sanity. You know, because I was really fucking thrown off. I still am, but not as bad. Not as bad, you know. And they told me that I didn't, you know, because the God that I grew up understanding, I thought God was punishing me. You know, I really did. I thought that God would have nothing to do with me. And you guys, man, this is like, welcome to the best fellowship in the world. You know, I got to make like a list of the God this God was just, the only suggestions was that it be loving and caring and greater than myself. You know, and I didn't even have to call it God if I didn't want to. It could be a group. You know, it could be another addict. And, I just kept like working the steps, you know. For the first time, I read that, you know, I was reading like the basic text, and I couldn't get enough of it. You know, in the third step, it talked about we made a decision for the first time. Since that first time, we made a decision for ourselves. Not that the judge didn't make the decision, you know, like the therapist, my mom didn't make the decision for the first time. I could make that decision for myself. And then turn my will and my life over to the care of God as we understood Him. And that's been one of the best decisions that I've ever made in my whole life. You know, is to like continue to keep coming back. And you know what else it told me? That I would become more patient and useful in helping others. And that I didn't no longer have to fight depression, anger, and fear and all that shit that we think we're like going through, and we're going crazy. My sponsor says, you just feel like you're going crazy. You're not. Turn your will and your life over to God's care. Live the steps. We don't just read them, we don't just write them, we live them. And that's what I've done. And I've done, you know, the inventory. And you know, the first one I heard Vic earlier, and yeah, I lied a lot because I didn't think I could really be that honest because of all the stuff that I had done and all the morals and values that I had abandoned, and all the anger and all the resentment and all the expectations. And I said, I can't admit that shit to another human being. They won't understand. But I did, because, you know, it says, how do we know we've turned our will and our life over to the care of God? We work the remainder of the steps, you know. We continue to do it, and I did it, and I just got as honest as I could, you know. What does it say? We're hiding a shaky, insecure person on the inside, and that was me. I had never been honest with anybody at that level. To say, you know, this is what I did. I slept with uncles and all that crazy sick shit that we do. You know what I'm saying? Just to get another fix, you know? And I stole from my grandmother, and, you know, I did some ugly stuff. I I stole from my mother, and, you know, I did. I was an addict, you know, I found ways and means to get more. And I didn't know that there was anything good inside of me. You know, thank God for that last part in the fourth step that talks about how we find our assets, right? Yeah. Like close you back up. What does it say? It's like spiritual surgery. It's surgery of the spirit, right? And it was really good to know that you guys gave me like some good stuff, you know. I didn't know I had willingness, and I had love and care and compassion, and, you know. And to admit that to another human being was like, wow, another addict does understand. You know what I'm saying? They've been where I've been. The one that always it was hard for me was like becoming entirely ready. That was hard. Because I was so used to like all of that stuff. The pride, the ego, you know what I'm saying? I come from the calle. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what am I going to be left with? You know? If I really tell these people how I feel, what am I going to be left with? You know? And my sponsor said it's just a choice. It's a choice, man, that you make. You know, you humbly ask. When it started to hurt, I started to humbly ask. I got tired. I got tired of practicing the same thing and expecting it to be different. You know what I'm saying? And they still reappear. They're not gone. It just is removed like for a little while out of the way, so God can continue to like work in me. You know, they're not gone. Sometimes they come out and they come out ugly. you know, but not as bad as they used to. You know, I have a sponsee, because I get to give back this gift, right? And she was telling me she got a job at Walmart. She's a cashier, and she told me, don't ever go steal at Walmart. And you know what I realized? I said, no, I haven't fucking stolen in 8 years, you know? And I realized, not out of the store anyway, right? And I realized that God had to remove that because I thought I was a professional shoplifter. I did it for fun, you know what I'm saying? And I realized that God had like removed that. You know, I hadn't done that for a while. There's still a lot of stuff that, you know, I'm like a work in progress. I'm still human. I still fall short. But I still keep asking, humbly asking, you know. And I've seen like the harm that I've caused. You know, I've written the harm that I've caused, who, what, why, and how I did it. You know, and some of the ones that I thought I would never be able to repair the damage was with my children. You know, with my loved ones, with my mother. You know, I used to really make my mom's life really miserable. You know, that resentment, that anger, I would like take it out on her and make her tremble. Get out of here. You know, leave me alone. And she had this fear in her eyes. And, you know, there's like, and my grandmother, I love my grandmother. She had really tried to show me, my husband laughs because I always share this, but everybody in my family used except my grandma. She's the only one that didn't use, and she was the only one that would like say, you know, ya mija, you know, stop. You're killing yourself. And I didn't know how. And one of the gifts that this program has given me is the, you know, when I made amends to my grandmother, because you like can make graveyard amends, right? And you can like, I wrote this letter and I went to my grandma's grave and I asked her to forgive me for all the harm that I had caused. And it was weird because I felt my grandma's like voice talking to me and telling me to help her children, and I didn't understand what that meant. You know, and 3 years after I had been clean, you know, my mom's an addict too. My sister, everybody in my family's fucking addict, right? But now the difference is that when my mom was tired and she wanted to she saw that there was something here that was working for me. And she told me, you know, I want to go to a meeting. And, because I would tell her, Mom, you don't got to live like this, because I would go visit her in the psych wards, and that's where she would go to rest, right? She would say, I'm going to go rest. And she would go to the psych ward because they would give her like free medication. And because my mom was real used to like having maids and shit like that, you know. But after everything like that happened, my stepdad got killed, all the money was gone. There was nothing but the hospital to like treat her like she thought like a queen, right? And I would go there and I would get, you know, I would try to share with her. I would try to tell her, Mom, you don't gotta live like this anymore. There really is a different way. And she would say, but you don't understand. The doctor gives them to me, you know. And I showed her, you know, in the second step about the sweet little old lady hitting 2 or 3 doctors for legal prescriptions, that it doesn't matter. We all seek our destruction one bag at a time, a few pills at a time until we die. You know, sometimes the junkie does pay a higher price, you know, and maybe I did do some shit that you didn't do, Mom, but you don't gotta live like that. Your spirit, it can awaken like mine, and you can be happy, and you don't have to keep coming to places like this with your ass hanging out of the robe and, you know, all crazy with her hair all fucked up and not knowing where she was at, you know, living in the past, you know. It's like, it really is a reality. And she finally like surrendered one day and called me and told me she wanted to go to a meeting. You know, and I was there, and I got to walk with my mom through her withdrawals and tell her, you don't gotta live like this, because you guys told me the newcomer's the most important person, and we practice these principles in all our affairs. You know, it's time you forgive your mother. And I held her hand, and we walked in the park, and she like sweated all that shit out. And my mom's got 5 years clean now. She got a sponsor, you know. She's funny because, you know, I get the, she's funny because I have the sponsee. I have a few, right? God has like given me a gift, you know what I'm saying? And I gotta share it, you know, and, I have this one sponsee that, I knew her grandfather and her uncles, and, you know, we used to like run dope together and shit, and now the girl she wanted to get clean, right? And she's in a detox, and I went over there and I showed her the basic text, and I told her, you don't gotta fucking die, you know what I'm saying? And she told her grandpa, yeah, guess what my sponsor is, right? And she said, my sponsor is gonna go to Mexico, she told the grandpa, right? And the grandpa's like, oh, really? Is she gonna go pick up some dope? Not today. Not today. You know, it's like, no, man, it's like, I'm gonna go deliver a message, right? Yeah. I'll go deliver today, man, and, it's been an awesome journey, man, to, like, the living amends, man, with my kids, you know, my daughter, she graduated already, she's in college, and, you know, I've been there because of the result of the steps and the spirit awakening and the ability to feel human again and to love and to laugh. And, you know, I've been able to, like, be there for her. You know, when a little motherfucker broke her heart, I was able to, like, hold her and tell her it's gonna be all right. His loss. You know what I'm saying? And see her, man, she finally like moved out, she's gonna live on her own, and, you know, it's like a deeper level of surrender, right? Deeper level of surrender, let go and have faith and have trust, and, you know, and that's what I do, man. I keep coming back. I sometimes continue to take a personal inventory. I'm not gonna come over here and lie because they told me they would do this if I lied. So, you know, when I'm feeling like messed up and what's wrong, and, you know, my sponsor's like, well, do 10, 11, 12, you know, what haven't you done? And I do that IP, living the program, you know. Did I go to a meeting today? Did I help someone out? You know, do I remember that I have a choice? Did I live in today? Because I always want to, like, my disease always wants to take me, like, to the past or the future, and I forget that I'm, like, right here today, right? And that kind of centers me back. You know, and I don't like to promptly admit when I'm wrong. I guess I still have a lot of that pride, right? But I still do it because I get the freedom. You know, my husband can tell you that. I do admit it though, because you know, it's just a lot easier, man, to like clean it up. You know. Promptly, or sometimes it takes me a while, but I'm aware of it, you know, and I keep coming back. You know what I have that I really like treasure here is a conscious contact. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I didn't know. I really didn't know how to pray only for knowledge of God's will and the power to carry it out. I really didn't. I always wanted to pray for like specific stuff, right? Oh God, but please, you know, and that's like my will, you know, only for knowledge of God's will. And sometimes it's not stuff that I like, you know, sometimes I won't accept God's will without another struggle and surrender, you know, but my God is so loving and patient and caring with me, He lets me like bump my head till I like get it, right? It's like, this is what it is, right? But it's always good, and you know, the end result is always like some peace. And I could not ever like buy that in a bag. Never. It's like a peace we never imagined possible. Never. You know, I would have made a lot of money if I could have like bagged that shit up and sell it. You know what I'm saying? It's like you just can't explain it. And you know, it says we try to carry this message and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And if you're new, welcome. I'm sure there's someone new here. You know, that's what it's about. It's about helping the newcomer. And going with them, staying that extra minute on the phone, right? And helping another addict. That's another thing I heard earlier that I really take to heart in that 9th step, is that there was some lives, there's some lives that are lost. When you sell dope, people OD. You know what I'm saying? And then other crimes that I committed that I hurt a lot of people. And it says that by helping another addict stay clean, we're making a tremendous amend to the whole community. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I try to do and learn. I'm still teachable. I'm still open-minded and willing, and I still learn from my predecessors. I can't thank them enough, because when I've felt like I was gonna go crazy and I was gonna blow my brains out, even here in recovery, because I'm still real crazy. You know what I'm saying? Says could restore us to sanity, right? It didn't just say it would. And I feel like I'm gonna die and I wanna give up and I just can't go on and just fuck it. You know what I'm saying? I call another addict and they help to restore me back to sanity. About 27 months ago, my husband decided to go use again, and after he had 2 years clean, right? And he OD'd, man. He had 2 heart attacks, his kidney shut down, and it was really ugly. He lost his mind, and thank God they say sponsorship's a two-way street. Thank God for the women that I sponsored, because they carried me through, and thank God for friends, that told me that it was going to be all right. Thank God for Vic. Let me get honest, right? For strong members that carry this message and that are foot soldiers. You know what I'm saying? And they say, don't give up. That carry the message. And it was crazy. I wanted to blow my brains out. I really did. And they said, go wash your face, call me, and we'll talk about it, right? Have you prayed? And, it's he'll be all right. And, wow, it was an experience, man. He did. He woke up, right? He woke up, and because, it says that none of us are exempt. My sponsor told me there are no big shots in Narcotics Anonymous. We're all just one shot away. You know what I'm saying? So it's I had to experience a lot of judgmentalism and a lot of, leave 'em and all this crap, right? And from people that didn't care, but then I got to find out the people that do, right? That really practice the principles, right? That don't just come up and say the newcomer's the most important person and then something happens and then they're not important anymore. That's not our message. Our message is hope and the promise is freedom. And my husband, he has 27 months clean, and it's a gift. And you know what? In March, I'm going to have 9 years clean, and that's a bigger gift. I don't know what else to say other than if you're new, keep coming back. Welcome. You don't ever have to use again. And the lie is dead. We do recover. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Please help us improve our ranking so others can find us by putting a review on Stitcher, iTunes, or your favorite podcast index. Napot is ad-free thanks to the folks supporting the show with $1 more per month. If you enjoy listening, you can join them by going to napot.xyz and looking for the donate link. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.